DJ.
Okay, and what are you doing here today?
Well, we're here to support particularly the black press in America, and I think black journalists are very impactful. I think black journalists are needed more in 2018 than ever before. In this so-called era of fake news versus real news, one thing about African Americans trust what black journalists do in print, in digital, in radio, in television, and that's why we're here.
Have you participated or will you be participating on any of the panels?
Yes,
today?
I'm leading a panel at 2 o'clock today on the black press and social media. So yes, I'm definitely involved.
And give us a little sneak peek of what's going to happen during that panel. What you're going to talk about?
Well, recent studies have shown that African Americans over-indexed on social media. We over-index on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And what we want to do is to make sure that as we are mass consumers of social media, we have to make sure that our interests are served by utilizing social media. We don't want social media to supplant the black press. We want social media to complement the black press. So that's what I'm talking about.
Now, finally, what do you hope to see coming out of this positive, out of this whole session?
Well, for this whole convention here in Detroit, I think what we're going to leave Detroit with is a reaffirmation of the importance of black journalism, a reaffirmation of the importance of the black press in America in 2018.
Ben Chavis, folks.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, my brother.
Talk to me about St. Cecilia and how that was impactful in your life back in the day.
Well, St. Cecilia is so impactful in my life because it was a place where I could go and tune up my game. And also, when I got my first contract as a pro, I came and drove all the way down Livernois just to get down to St. Cecilia in my new Cadillac, because back then no one owned a automobile that was not made in Detroit. So St. Cecilia is just my lifeblood. It is a lifeblood of the city. We have to protect her and make it right again.
Tell me about the story when they had the first NBA, ABA practice up there. And the legend was the ball was stuck and you tipped it off the top of the backboard. Tell us about just the impact of having all those great players when they were trying to bring those two leagues together.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, that was just all part of what St. Cecilia would do, you know. I don't know if I got it off the top of the backboard, but I used to practice that over at U of D, and I never could get that dollar off. But St. Cecilia is just Detroit. It's just like General Motors. It's like Ford Motor Company. It's like Chrysler. It is Detroit at its best. And I think you were mentioning earlier about when Dave Bing was going through his negotiations and he had no place to play. That's where he came and practiced and played while he got ready for the new contract with the Pistons. Just so much there.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I have time to talk to you while we're electronic version. Okay.
Thank you very much. Excellent. I hope you had fun.
Get you up and go with my man right here.
So I'm here with the legend Isaiah Thomas here at NABJ. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. First of all, I take a lot of pride in the fact that we share the same last name. Absolutely a legend. I'm from Chicago.
Probably relative.
Yeah, I heard you say Chicago. You consider family, so you know it's great. I wanted to ask you a question. You know, as a former athlete and also someone whose opinions are very valuable on air. You know, as a black athlete, what do you think about the stance that a lot of athletes are taking as far as injustices? For example, LeBron, with his interview around Donald Trump. Like, how important do you think it is to have a presence like that?
We're here with Isaiah Lord Thomas. I know when you first came to the city of Detroit, you said you knew nothing about it. You didn't even know what gyms were, what have you. But you came across the gym, St. Cecilia. Talk a little bit about how that was impactful for you getting ready and how that brought the communities together playing over at St. Cecilia.
Well, having, getting off the lodge and, driving first to find St. Cecilia, I found .NET as first.
Yeah.
And then they gave me the direction of St. Cecilia. But the impact that the Saint had on the community, and the way people felt, talked about it, respected it. You got a love for the city, but you also got a love for the people in the city. There was a respect factor around the building. There was a respect factor in the community. And, it's funny, when people talk about St. Cecilia, yeah, we reference the great players that have played there, but really the conversation is about the friendships and the camaraderie that came out of that place, the brotherhood that still exists. That's what St. Cecilia meant to me.
Talk about that one incident with Bo Dukes. You said it in this conference today. I want you to retell that story.
No, I remember that was my first game at St. Cecilia, and everyone was talking about, Alvin Bo Dukes. And, it was this little guard who could handle the basketball, and, he was gonna tear me up. And I remember getting to the arena, and I'm watching him warm up. I'm warming up and everything, and the game started. And this was maybe the first 3 minutes of the game. He and I are going for a loose ball, and I'll never forget, I had never seen this play before in my life. He grabbed it and hiked it between his legs, hit a guy running on the left side of the court, right in stride, and they dunked it, and the little gym exploded. That was my introduction to Bo Dukes and St. Cecilia.
Talk to me about, Spencer said about you getting the statue in front of the building. I know Dave Bing put Detroit on the map, but you put us on the map as a champion. What are your feelings about them putting the statue in front of that building? I think it should be there. What do you think?
If it happens, great. For me, if a statue goes up, it should be all of us in Detroit, because really, all Detroit community and who we were at that time, I get a lot of credit, but the prayers, the well wishes, the teammates, all of us were really in it together. And, so I'm honored that people think that way about me, but at the same time, I do know that, I had a lot of help, and I had great teammates, and I had a great city behind me.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Real quick, let's get this. Who's your
Good, man. Good. I'm going to talk a little bit about St. Cecilia.
Okay.
I'm doing a documentary, and we're trying to get some fans to keep it open. Say, man, you know what, boy? All my people here today.
Oh, yeah.
You rolling? Yep. Steve, talk a little bit about your first experience when you came to St. Cecilia. What was it like?
Nervous, because I heard about you can't go there with your B game, your C game. Then when I got a chance to walk in, I think I was a rising ninth grader, and we was playing in the league. And I remember Doc giving me a nickname, Weasel. And obviously Johnny Golston, who brought me to St. Cecilia because he was playing for the Persian team, wasn't varsity, we was a league of JV, whatever it was, I was going into the ninth grade. And just to hear about the legendary St. Cecilia at 13, wanted to go and play when I was 8, 9, but didn't get a chance because I live on the east side. But to get a chance to walk in that gym the summer before my ninth grade year, to have that mystique, and for my dad who's 88 and my brother who's older, talk about all the greats, it just was something that came over you. And then you go, where's the air conditioning?
Oh, man.
The hot box, which made it the mystique, which made it St. Cecilia.
Talk a little bit about the community, how it brought all the Pontiac, Saginaw, Benton Harbor, everybody, Flint, everybody came there. How was St. Cecilia such a great mecca for bringing everybody together?
I think it's a fantastic question from you, because it was more than basketball. Because everybody talked about the basketball, rightfully so, it was legendary. But there were lawyers, judges, influential people in the stands, people from across the country obviously coming to recruit. But it brought a sense of pride, positiveness through the game of basketball. And I always say, Spencer Haywood, Leroy Haywood, they talked about that game of basketball could take us around the world, and it did.
We talk about that era from 1967 to about 80. They kept NBA players coming out of there. And other players said they sharpened their game in St. Cecilia. Did you ever feel that way? Did you go to Saints and get your game ready?
For sure. there were some players that didn't play college basketball, didn't play in the NBA, was better than 50% of us who was making all-star games. So when you start talking about sharpening your game, I mean, there was players. I remember a day, I just tell you this story. Me and Harold Miner was teammates, and he came in for something, but it was late. We went down to Fishbones to eat, and he said, boy, I wish, he was leaving the next day. He said, I wish I could play at this so-called St. Cecilia. And I would say it was 9 o'clock. I said, I'm going to call everybody. And I forgot who I got to open the gym up. By 11 o'clock, it felt like it was 11 a.m. on Saturday. The place was packed, and we played, and everybody came out. Not only was great basketball, just like it was on Saturday and Sunday during the afternoon, Harold always talked about, I can't believe that community could get together in that 2 hours. It was like 2 hours. We were eating the fish bones like 8 or 9. By 11, not packed with players, the gym was packed with spectators too. And it was like St. Cecilia during a playoff game, during Summer League championship.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Looking well, man. Looking good. Appreciate you.